When it comes to the tools of our trade, yes, as gardeners, we have tools of our trade, be they secateurs, be it a rake, a garden fork, or even some hand tools. Taking care of them in the right way is going to make sure that we have longevity out of them, we get our bang for our buck, and that could possibly even pass them on to future generations. In this clip, we're going to go through basic tool cleaning. We're also going to show you how to sharpen a pair of secateurs and deal with rust on a really bad pair of loppers. Once you've finished in the garden, I know that you're tired. I know that the last thing you want to do is cleaning up. But guys, this is the important part. So, yeah, in the morning in the garden, bit of dirt, bit of sap on the secateurs. How do we go about it? You need to get a bucket of warm water, add a bit of detergent into it, drop or two, and pop those guys in there and give them a good clean. Get all that scum off them. Remembering that cleaning them is not only to make sure that they are going to last longer, but if by any chance you were removing a dead plant that had possibly rotted or died because of a disease, we're now taking this off. Okay, so it stops contamination, which is one of the key reasons why you would want to make sure that the tools of your trade are always nice and clean. When it comes to secateurs, general pruning always leaves some residue on them. Always take them, get them into the water, get your rag, and just give them a good wipe down. Get all that gunk off them. Once we've done that, use the other end of the cloth, just dry them off. Next step is really easy. Get a bit of multi-purpose oil and you can just simply pop it onto your rag and then a quick wipe down. This is important because what it's doing now is it's giving a good protective layer. The multi-purpose oil is going to protect it against rust. It's going to stop any oxidization taking place. And now that you've given it a good clean, it's just a good sealing. And of course, one of the biggest areas of tool care is where do you put them? Take a bit of time and effort. Have a space where they can simply just hook up and be safe. And always know where they're kept. And especially if you've got young children around, keep them at a height that's above theirs. When it comes to secateurs, if you haven't cleaned them and got the gunk and the goo off from when you've been doing some general pruning, they might end up looking like this. We're going to take you through a very simple process of how to clean them and sharpen the blades. Right, the first step that I want you to do is to take your sharpening stone and pop it into some water. And as you pop it in, you'll see, there we go, little air bubbles, and that's going to help lubricate it. Leave it in there for a couple of minutes until all the air bubbles have stopped. Whilst the sharpening stone is busy doing its thing, we're going to get started on the pair of secateurs. Pop a little cloth down, and this is where we're going to be using the sanding sponge. And all I want you to do now is where there are bits of gunk and gum, you're just going to take it and very gently just work your way along it. Little circular motions, and that's going to get rid of it all. You can also then alternate with the steel wool to help you get into those little areas where this guy won't. Where the blade is and where you see that angle, we are not going anywhere near it with this block. All right, folks, once we're done with that, we're now going to get down to the blade. Now, don't be intimidated by this. It really is a bit of practicality and a bit of patience. So we want to take out our block, just dry it up a little bit. Right, a little bit of lubrication onto it. And here you really have to just work out what's going to be best for you, which side. Because the whole idea when sharpening is not to force it, it's to be as comfortable as you can. And most importantly is always to keep this angle. So a wee bit of our oil on here. All right, get into a comfortable position, whichever works for you. And all we do is we simply just run it. It's not up and down, it's holding it, getting the angle, and a slight movement from one side to the other. You will notice that there are two different colors on this block. The one is slightly coarser and the other one is much finer. Start with the coarser one and then move to the fine. Once that's done, on the outside, on the other side of the blade, The only time that you would apply the stone to it is if you've really been using it for very bad things like cutting wire or opening tins of paint, that you might have nicked it. And then what I want you to do is just take this again, and here you want to go as flat as possible, because this is the flat side. You've got no angles there. Woo! Yes, much, much better. Right, final step, guys, is just to apply a bit of the oil, especially into the moving parts. Give it a few whirls and just give it a good wipe, get it into it. And this, my friends, is going to make this pair of secateurs last another good 10 years. Let's see if the sharpening has been as good as it should, because theoretically, if your secateurs are sharp enough, they should cut through a piece of paper. And the most important part of this entire exercise is to store the secateurs in a place that is safe and that you will remember where they are. When it comes to tools that are a bit more rusted, like this guy over here, I mean, this guy really has gone through a bit of wear and tear, certainly hasn't been looked after. What are our options and how do we deal with it? Really simply, the first thing I want you to do, especially with these loppers, and this is a wavy blade lopper, and you might think, oh, that's going to be a bit more difficult. No, we got this. The first thing I want you to do is to just take it apart, and we're going to unscrew this guy over here. Depending on the type of lopper you've got, you might just need to use a socket or a spanner just to undo these two moving parts. Right, nice and easy, two separate parts. Keep these aside in a safe place. All we're going to do next is I've got a wire brush, and we're going to use this just to get rid of some of the really built up rust on here. The easiest way to do this, guys, a little tip, is just use it, put it against your shoulder so that you've actually got some kind of control over this. On a flat surface, it's not going to be that easy, so rather just use it against your shoulder, get it nice and firm, and you're good to go. Even strokes in the same direction just to get off that excess. Right, most has been taken off. We're doing a good job already. Next up, probably the easiest part, is some household vinegar into a tray. And guys, all we're gonna do is add that in. The vinegar is amazing. After an hour or two, you will find that it just starts removing the rust. It almost starts bubbling and just eating it away. Once the vinegar's in, you just simply pop these guys in. You might need to just adjust this slightly to make sure that you're getting the vinegar covering the whole area, or even better, just add a little bit more. Just make sure that the rusted part of the tools are covered completely. Then sit back, leave it. After an hour or so, you'll see the bubbles start coming up. The lopper has been sitting in the vinegar for a good few hours, and this is going to make it so much easier to now get that excess rust off. So take it out, keep the vinegar aside, because there are always going to be other tools that you could pop in there. Now all we're going to do is take one blade at a time, lean it against your shoulder. It's going to make it much easier. On the flat side, which is this over here, that is the wavy blade where the beveled edge is. So using the sanding sponge, flat against it, small circular motions to get rid of that excess rust. The longer that you leave it in the vinegar, obviously the better it works, and the looser it makes these hard, stubborn bits of rust become exposed and simply peel off. For more stubborn areas, add a bit of your general purpose or multi-purpose oil, and you can use a little bit of steel wool. It does the job perfectly, and alternate between the steel wool and the sponge until you're happy that you've got enough off. What a difference. And you literally repeat the steps that I've done on all sides of it, wherever there's rust and metal, and give it a good clean. Now when it comes to sharpening, you're going to be using your stone. And with the stone, you'll notice that there's a rough side and a much smoother side. What's all important now is that you get the angle right on the wavy blade. You can add a little bit of your multi-purpose oil, and then what I want you to do, secure the blade so that you're in a comfortable position, and all I want you to do is simply get the angle. You'll feel it, you'll feel when it'll work, and follow it all the way down in one even stroke. Once we're done, guys, and you're happy that it's sharp enough, we can just easily put it back together, pop the nut in, and then we get to test it out. Well, folks, that's the 101 on garden tool care, how to clean them, and of course, how to sharpen them. Remember, everything I've used is available at your local builders, either in-store or online. For more great videos like this, check out the blog on the website for great DIYs, gardening tips, and of course, how to turn you into a green-fingered guru. Get to builders and get it done.